So you're thinking about coming to Nashville, Tennessee? Well, don't until you watch this video and discover the 5 things that you need to know before making that move. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Quentin, and today we'll be going over the 5 things you need to know before moving to Nashville. Let's get right to it with number 5, jobs. Just like majority of the world right now, everyone is hiring. You can't go more than 10 feet without seeing a sign. The number 1 industry in Tennessee right now is healthcare, and Nashville is home to a ton of hospitals, with 3 of the most recognizable being Vanderbilt Medical Center, St. Thomas, and TriStar Centennial. Nashville isn't just known for healthcare. In 2020, when everyone started working remotely, many companies realized they can move. Therefore, coming to Nashville and bringing with it a ton of tech jobs. Amazon is also coming to Nashville too. They're building 2 different job sites. According to WKRN, the average annual salary for someone in Nashville is to be around $40,000. With there being a surplus of jobs, the unemployment rate is actually 3.7% averaged for 2021, which is actually below the national US average of 4.2%. One last thing about jobs. While I don't hear a lot of this talked about, I feel like people should know. Musicians. Everyone wants to come to Nashville to be a star. There's nothing wrong with that, and you very well might be the next star. But I don't want you guys to get here and think that you'll find immediate stardom. A lot of places you're coming from, you might have actually gotten paid to sing at a venue, while here there's a surplus of people that are willing to sing for free just to make those connections, to whereas you might have to find a different source of income. Number 4, activities. What in the world is there to do in Nashville, you ask? Well, there's actually a lot, and majority of it is actually kid-friendly too. Nashville, known for country music, has tons to do with everything country. You can visit museums about country music. There's the Country Music Hall of Fame. We also host the CMAs every year. We have the Grand Ole Opry. There's actually a ton of parks around and hiking trails that you can go on if that's your thing too. We have some of my favorite areas, Centennial and Bicentennial Park. Personally, I love to play Pokemon Go anytime I'm in those areas. It's a great spot to play that there. While you're out playing Pokemon at Bicentennial Park, be sure to stop at the farmer's market. It's one of my favorite places to be come spring, summertime. Another fun-filled family activity, kids included, would be the Nashville Zoo. More activities that are a little less kid-friendly. Well, majority of the people when they come to Nashville, they want to visit Broadway or downtown Nashville. There's tons of bars and live music that is sure to get your fix. Last but definitely not least is going to be your sporting events. So you're going to have Titans football and Preds hockey. You also have Nashville Sounds baseball. Me personally, I'm not that big of a baseball fan, so I typically lean more towards the football and the hockey. Number 3, food. Starting with Germantown, just north of downtown Nashville, we're home to some of the most nationally recognized restaurants like Rolf and Daughters. In Germantown, you're bound to find an assortment of things, but the main focus is going to be American with some vegan options as well. Next we have East Nashville. While mainly focusing on arts, there's plenty of places to eat as well, like Peninsula, which is a Spanish-Portuguese style cuisine, all the way to Lachlan Table, which is southern focused with drinks and cocktails. Next we have downtown. While more of a tourist location, you're sure to find plenty of bars, but in between you'll find a couple of hidden gems like Martin's Barbecue. Just a few miles south of downtown, we have what's called 12 South, where you're sure to find your mix of Middle Eastern food to pizza to brunch. Is coffee more your style? Well, be sure to check out the Frothy Monkey while you're there. Wedgwood, while filled with railroad tracks and warehouses, is nothing short of multi-course fine dining or freshly baked pastries, pies, or cakes. Do you guys have a favorite place that you want others to try? Be sure to drop it below in the comments. I would love to try it as well. Following Wedgwood, we have Sylvan Park, or what's called West Nash. While this place is going to feel a little more local than some of the other areas that are very similar to it, you'll find an abundance of food that ranges from Italian, so pizzas, pasta, gelato, to Hattie B's hot chicken. Another West Nash neighborhood that you'll find focusing on bars and restaurants is going to be the Nations. You'll find Italian here, as well as barbecue, some vegan options, and even coffee for an early pick-me-up if you need it. Following West Nashville, we have Nolansville, which is probably the most diverse. You're going to find everything from tacos and burritos to Turkish foods like gyros and kebabs. You'll even find small markets for Latin American ingredients, which is one of my favorite things to do, is to go out and see all these other different cultures, ingredients, and try to incorporate them in foods that I cook as well. Last on the list, but definitely not least, is the Gulch. Here's a place that's recently had a major come up in that you'll find pizza, burgers, some pretty solid ramen, Tex-Mex, steakhouses. So really it's you pick. Guys, if this video gets you excited about coming to Nashville, well, be sure to check out my other video, Top 5 Home Buying Mistakes, so you guys don't make the mistakes when moving here. Let's get to it with number 2, cost of living. How much more expensive is it to live in Nashville, Tennessee compared to the rest of the world? As you can see, overall, the cost of living for Nashville is higher overall than it is in the United States. The overall cost of living in Tennessee is actually going to be a little lower, but remember when I talked about earlier in the videos, the jobs and how everyone started relocating to Tennessee, a majority of them did come to central Nashville, which thus raises the cost of living. With commodities like groceries, there's always going to be a variable difference in how much something might cost, and you can see that it's pretty on par with about average on the United States and how much things cost. When it comes to healthcare, you can see that it's actually a little lower. As you can see, our next category is going to be housing, and while we're 14 points over the average US housing, we're over 30 points higher than overall Tennessee. So again, with the influx of people, we're going to see a rise in cost. So it's really important that we understand the cost of living and have a very clear defined budget. Talking back on number 3, where the food locations were, the difference in cost of housing in those areas can be dramatic. Moving on to the home cost. That was the average home cost back in August of 2021. Using my data with new points, the median home price for a 3-bed, 2-bath, either single family or condo, doesn't matter, is going to be in the range of $370,000. So quite a bit of increase from 2021 to 2022, and that can be accounted to multiple reasons: the influx of new people and the previous demand for new homes as well. Next, we have utilities, which is going to be pretty average across the state, across the country. So what you're paying currently for utilities may depend on the climate that you're in, but if it's similar to Tennessee's, you can expect a similar payment. Next, we have transportation. This is a big one, guys. There is no mass transportation in Nashville. We do not have a subway like New York or railways like DC. Therefore, you will need a vehicle to get around Nashville. We have Uber and Lyft as well if that suits your needs, but personally I would recommend getting a vehicle. Last but not least, we have the miscellaneous. So that's just going to be how much it costs to, let's say, go out to eat or do an activity outside, roundabout like movie theaters or just stuff like that. Well guys, if you made it this far, I just want to give you a big thank you, and be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. As we get into it with number 1, the weather. Personally, I think the weather is the biggest issue someone should know about before going absolutely anywhere. you don't like the hot or you don't like the cold, and you move somewhere that's hot or cold, you're not gonna be happy. When it comes to weather in Nashville, Tennessee, we have 4 seasons, and sometimes in the same day. So you'll be sure to expect each one every year. Just want to share some statistics from bestplaces.net as far as the climate and weather about Nashville. On average, the United States sees roughly 38 inches of rain per year. Nashville, on the other hand, sees 11 inches more at about 49 inches a year. Snow's not something you typically see in Tennessee, although we definitely do still get it. When it comes to snow, the average in the United States is roughly 28 inches. Nashville, it's about 4. So while we don't see a lot of snow, it definitely still does snow here and there. And really big warning, when it snows, people do not know how to drive. Everything shuts down. Everyone buys all the milk, all the bread from the grocery store. Don't know why, but just want you to be aware of that, especially if you're coming from a northern area and snow's nothing to you or fairly common. Down here, not so much. When it comes to nice sunshiny days, the United States sees on average 205 sunny days, while Nashville sees 208, so slightly sunnier and a whole lot less snow. When it comes to precipitation, which is counted by 0.01 inches collectively, we see about 120 days, or roughly 33% of the time, will be some form of precipitation. When it comes to that hot heat out there, the average temperature in the United States is going to be around that 85.8 degrees Fahrenheit mark. The average July temperature high in Nashville, we're looking at 89. So definitely a couple degrees warmer than the overall United States. We get about 37 days annually where the temperatures can exceed 90 degrees. Another thing to think about whenever winter ends and spring starts to begin and those seasons transition, a lot of people don't talk about this, but when that cold weather kind of goes away and springtime comes along, a lot of people don't talk about this, but if you have allergies, you better be taking some kind of medication. Down here, the spring is fairly brutal as far as pollen goes. There's many times where you go outside and everything is yellow, like everything is covered in pollen. So if you have allergies, definitely make some kind of preventative measures because you will feel them down here. Personally, my allergies aren't bad in the springtime. I actually get them in the fall time, so which is kind of weird. But whenever that heat goes away and that cold starts to come in is when mine start to act up. One tip for dealing with really bad allergies down here is to find some local honey. I've heard that can do a lot of good things for people with allergies that aren't from here. When it comes to low temperatures, the average low for January across the United States is going to be roughly 21.7 degrees Fahrenheit, while the average low for January in Nashville is going to be about 26.5. So while we do have warmer summers, we also have warmer, less harsh winters when it comes to temperature and snow. On average, we're looking at about 86 days where the temperature is going to be below 32 degrees. On the extremely cold side, we won't really see a lot of those days. Fun fact, the last day it was below 0 was February 5th, 1996. There we have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're ready to make that move to Nashville, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help. And until then, see ya.